Hello guys, today we're going to read Charles Webb, the movie Starbucks, looked at Fern, Arable, and Wilbur. These are the ones from the movie Interstellar Life. If the ones who work at the film who are watching this, I thank you for making this film. Charles Webb. Charles Webb, the movie Starbucks, adapted by Kate Ian and based on a screenplay by Susanna Grant and Carrie. It is based on the book by A.B. Wright. One warm spring night, 12-year-old Fern Arable was jolted awake by a thunderstorm. Then a light outside caught her eye. Someone was in the family's barn. Fern jumped up and threw on her raincoat. She had to find out what was going on. Her father was out there tending to some brand new piglets. 10 of them were perfectly healthy, but one was small and weak. Mr. Arable watched the small one struggle for food. Then, with a sigh, he pulled an axe off the wall. Fern reached her father just in time. What are you doing? She cried, startling him. You're not going to kill her, are you? It's a runt. Replied her father. Now, go back to bed. This is unfair and unjust, Fern said. How can you be so heartless? The sow can't feed it, Mr. Arable explained. Then I will. Fern snatched the runt from her father's arms and hugged it. I'll feed it and care for you, she cooed. She scowled at her father and raced out of the barn. Mr. Arable shook his head at his spirited daughter, disappeared into the rain. Fern tucked Dora into her bed that night, and in the morning she fed him with a bottle, so the two of them were inseparable. Fern sang songs to the pig and read him stories. She pushed him in a baby carrier and even smoked him into school. She named the pig Wilbur. Fern's brother Avery teased her about Wilbur, but Mr. and Miss Arable didn't interfere with Fern's pet. At least not until he started to grow. He's not a baby anymore, Miss Arable explained to Fern. I'm sorry, but it's time for the pig to go. Fern's lip quivered and her eyes filled with tears, but I promised Wilbur I'd take care of him. Fern's mother had the perfect solution. Remember who lived next door at Zuckerman's farm. Bravely, Fern walked Wilbur down the road to the farm next door, which was run by her Uncle Homer. You'll be okay, she assured him. You make lots of friends. Just be yourself. They'll love you, and I'll come see you every day. That didn't make Wilbur feel better at all. When Fern left for school, he tried to run after her school bus. Turns out the other animals on the farm were watching. It had been a long time since anyone had tried to escape. Mr. Zuckerman and his farmhand Lurvy lured Mirror back to the barn with a bucket of slops. The food was good, but it wasn't what Wilbur really wanted more than anything. He wished that the other animals would talk to him. Instead, they acted as if he didn't exist. There was a horse who ignored Wilbur completely. There were two cows who were always laughing at the jokes they told on another. Wilbur only told them apart by looking at the tufts of the on of hair on their heads. Betsy's was white and Betsy's was black. There was a flock of sheep, but blindly did whatever Samuel, their leader, told them to do. There were two geese, Golly and Gussie, who never left their nest as far as Wilbur could tell. When it rained, Wilbur raced out into the open outside the barn. He jumped in the air and crashed in the mud. It really is a lot more fun when you do it with someone. River told the other animals, but nobody wanted to play. Finally, the geese took pity on him. They filled him in about life on the farm, but it didn't make it sound as great as Fern had. Ike's breath could kill paint, confined Golly. Oh, and the sheep are idiots, mindless, agreed Gussie. They drive us crazy. They'd follow a leaf off a cliff if it led them there. And those cows, all they do is gossip. But you're all friends, right? Asked Robo confused. Golly nodded. Oh, sure, he said. Been here together our whole lives. Well, do you think that just living in the same place was enough to make someone your friend? Not the kind of friend he wanted anyway, but he didn't dare to argue with the geese. He was too desperate for some company. Weber surprised a rat near his trough one day, sticking away with the best pieces of Weber's lunch. Hey, you want to play? Asked Weber. It was worth a try. The rat blinked for a second. They said, for so many reasons, no. See, I don't play. He ticked off things he did do on his fingers. I gnaw, I spot, I eat, I hide. Me in a nutshell. He started showing raw fruit into the hole under Wilbur's trough. Couldn't you just stay and chat? Wilbur tried. Chat, the rat repeated. Gnaw, spite, eat, hide. He repeated, nope, chat ain't on the list. The rat's name was Templeton. He talked a lot, but he wanted a but he wasn't exactly friendly. He was only interested in food, especially if it was Wilbur's. Fern came to visit whenever she could, but Wilbur was still lonely. Before he went to bed, he shouted out good night to each of the other animals, hoping that somebody would respond. They had to hear him. Wilbur figured, but nobody ever bothered to say good night back. Only one night a voice said, please tell me you won't be doing all that all night. I'm trying to concentrate. We want to talk, but the voice said, go sleep. We'll chat tomorrow. Mama couldn't wait until sunrise. As soon as a silver of light appeared above the horizon, he called out, will the party who addressed me last night kindly make yourself known? These same voices pipe down and now come out. Mother could see the creature until it came down on a silky thread and jiggled in front of his nose. It was a big gray spider. The spider cried, salutations. Wilbur stammered. Oh, okay, I'll leave. Then the spider interrupted. No, Wilbur, she explained. Salutations is just a fancy way of saying hello. The last name was Charlotte. And like Wilbur, she wasn't very popular around the barn. When Bessie spotted Charlotte, she shuddered. Ew, wish she go back in. They eat their young, you know, Bessie added. They spongy in the legs, Gussie chimed in, and Fangs, ugh, Spider, shrieked Ike. Get it away from me, get it away. The horse was terrified of Charlotte, and all the animals kept their distance. For some reason, though she didn't bother Wilbur, he thought that Charlotte seemed pretty nice. Wilbur could talk to Charlotte about anything. Their conversations lasted for hours. And this spring she helped him see farmlife through new eyes. It wasn't boring or lonely at all. In fact, magical things happened all the time. That the days grew warm and long, and new life was everywhere. A glowing pig could look when gusty eggs hatched. Wilbur could hardly believe his eyes. Then school left for summer, and Fern was there to share it all with him. Wilbur felt happy. One night, Fern's brother Avery spotted Charlotte and tried to catch her. Wilbur tripped him, and he was about to take Charlotte away in a jar. Avery's foot landed in the middle of Templeton's lair, right where the rat had stored his prized possession, a rotten egg. When Avery crushed it, the smell was horrendous. All the animals complained except Charlotte. She was just grateful to Wilbur for stopping Avery before it was too late. And there's a picture right there. And there's another one. And Wilbur looks so cute in that one. Ironic, isn't it? Templeton sent Charlotte. He's saving you, and they're saving him for Christmas. What's Christmas? Asked Wilbur. The day you'll be cured, Templeton said. But I'm not sick, Wilbur replied. Templeton met his eyes evenly. Oh, I didn't say you were sick, he said, waiting for the animals to explain. It's a sad statement, but Minera's the most honest guy in the place. It was up to Chart to tell Wilbur the terrible truth. Spring pigs were often killed before the year was out. Their meat smoked into hams and bacon. Wilbur was the deer said, "Isn't it fair, Grant? I love it here. I want to live forever. I, I want to see the snow." Templeton sneered, but Charlotte was made Wilbur a promise. Whether everyone else sees it or not, you are a breath of fresh air in this stinking place, and I will not let him kill you. I'm going to save your life, she announced. How on earth can you possibly do that? Asked Wilbur. I don't know. Charlotte admitted, but I made you a promise, and promises are something I never break. So go to sleep and let me worry about it. Trusting his friend, Wilbur did as he was told. While the other animals slept that night, Charlotte hatched her plan and worked alone. Silken strands curled from her spinner wrists, and her eight legs seemed to dance as she wove the silk into a magnificent new spider web. The next day, Charlotte's web shone in the morning light. In its very center, she had spun two words, "some pig." But there's some people from the movie. When Olivia came with the stops the next morning, he dropped his bucket and froze. He'd never seen anything like it. He ran up to the farmhouse and tried to explain to Mrs. Zuckerman. There's something in the, it's sort of up in the, corner. You just gotta come see this. Nobody could explain how words had come to be woven into a web, as if people were flocking from far and wide to see it. Charlotte's words made Wilbur stand a little taller. Suddenly he had some new respect around the barn. The only problem was that people fly by all too quickly. And if Wilbur had any hope of surviving till Christmas, Charlotte would need to keep reminding everyone that he was special. Oops. Sorry, guys. So Charlotte called a meeting of the animals. Nobody liked talking orders from a spider, but Charlotte said, Wilbur's life is in danger, and what happens to one of us affects us all. The humans could just send any one of them off to the smokehouse. After Wilbur, the only way to keep it from happening was to stick together. Charlotte was looking for another word to weave into her web, and it had to be just right. Nobody had any good ideas until Gussie started. How about terrific, terrific, terrific? The spider could only fit one terrific into her web, but otherwise it was perfect. Once again, it seemed like the whole world came to see the web. They came with pencils and cameras, ready to record every bit of news from Zuckerman's farm. Wilbur stood proudly under the web as people snapped his picture. The other animals were proud of him, too. This is nice, gotta admit, said Golly, observing Wilbur. He looks good, bless his heart, Bessie agreed. I must say, he looks quite smart, Samuel said. Impressive. Even Mr. Zuckerman sold berries and corn to all the visitors. He promised Wilbur a nice new bed of clean straw, too. After all, business on the farm was booming. People were saying that the webs were a miracle. Nobody come Nobody could believe that a spider had made them on her own. Mrs. Arable even wondered if Fern had anything to do with it. She was starting to wish her daughter could spend quite so much time with the animals. Fern and the animals were hoping that the webs had changed things for Wilbur, but even they couldn't stop the momentum on the farm as summer gave way to fall. Mr. Zuckerman was busy getting ready for the cold winter ahead. One day, Wilbur and Fern overheard him talking to Larvae about repairing the smokehouse. In spite of everything Charlotte had done, he still wanted him for the holidays. When the animals met again, Wilbur was discouraged. Charlotte was looking for words again, and Wilbur didn't have any suggestions. The only words he had for Charlotte were syllables like smiling and pinkish. Finally, Charlotte interrupted him. Words have power, Wilbur, she said. They must be chosen carefully if you want them to be effective. She wasn't discouraged at all, and she hadn't given up on saving Wilbur. All of the farm animals were pulling on for Wilbur by now. All that is, except one. That rat is always dragging in trash with writing on it. Gussie pointing out plenty of words there. Captain hated the idea. No way, he insisted. Nothing doing. I bend my back to try and save some pig. No matter how terrific you think the large meat is. He changed his mind though when Charlotte reminded him that there would be no more tasty treats with Wilbur gone. Suddenly Templeton was willing to pitch in. He was amazed in a pile of newspapers and brought back a tired magazine cover for certain. Templeton's trash gave her inspiration. Nobody knew it yet, but Charlotte was growing old. Moving webs had once been easy for her, but that night she labored heavily over each letter. By the time she was done, the spider was exhausted and out of breath. Though Charlotte was sure she had done her best work this time. On the crisp autumn morning, her new web read radiant, just like the happy pig lying beneath it. And there's a picture. Charlotte's new web reminded Mr. Zuckerman of something, and an idea that Fern had planted in his mind finally bore fruit. Addressing a crowd of onlookers, Mrs. Zuckerman said, "Folks, I want to thank you all for coming. The rep says it's better than I ever could. He's some terrific radiant pig, all right. Which is why I just had to take River to the to the county fair. Miss Ekman had been to the fair in years, but if his miracle pig brought home a blue ribbon, well, maybe he spared him from the smokehouse. Did you hear that? Gussie cried. He saved, saved, saved. We did it. The animals were proud of themselves and of their good friends Charlotte and Wilbur. They felt certain that Mr. Zuckman would never kill a pig who had won a blue ribbon at the fair. It seemed like a long time since Wilbur had been brand new in the barn. Now the humans were helping him so much as the animals were. Lurvy gave him extra stops to fatten him up, and Mrs. Zuckerman gave him a buttermilk bat. Everyone wanted Wilbur to get first prize. He still wasn't totally confident, though. Have you ever been to a fair? Wilbur asked Charlotte. Nervously. No, said the spider. You'll have to tell me all about it when you get back. Wilbur was confused. What do you mean? He asked. You'll be there, won't you? I'm afraid not, Wilbur replied. I have work to do, work that has nothing to do with your work I must do alone. But I can't go without you, Wilbur stumbled. You'll be fine without me, Wilbur. I wouldn't send you out there alone if I had any doubts, said Charlotte soothingly. Wilbur had no choice but to trust her. He knew Charlotte would never let them down. There was only one problem. Just before Wilbur left, Charlotte discovered that Mrs. Ekman would treat Wilbur just like any other pig if he failed to win. Her friend would have gone long before the first snow fell, and she wouldn't have lived up to her promise. Summing up her strength, Charlotte crawled into Wilbur's crate so she could stay by his side. Duncan, she called, I need you to go with me. We'll have to find another word. A really good one. Sorry, lady, said the word. No can do. My word fishing days are over. Comes time when the rat got asked himself, what's in it for the rat? Charlotte wasn't in the mood to argue, but luckily she didn't have to. The other animals knew how to convince him. Once they'd been afraid of Charlotte, but now they're on her side. Working for Wilbur had brought them all together. I've been to first, said Bessie. Greasy bits of food all over the place, Bessie added. It's a mess, 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 Gussie said. Popcorn, more cheese, half-eaten sandwiches, and spaghetti candy apples. Tupton didn't need to hear another word. He dove into the crate just as Lurvy shut the door. The fair was nothing the animals had ever seen before. On an ornate patch of farmland, a bustling village had sprung up for the week, filled with throngs of happy people and lit with sparkling lights. There was rides for the kids, the games for their parents, with ice cream and candy apples for all. Cheerful music flowed all over to the barn as Robert watched the passers-by. His friends thought he had a good chance of winning. He was big and strong now. Plus, he was famous too. But Wilbur knew there was a huge pig named Uncle in the pen next to his, bigger and stronger than he could ever be. He wasn't sure he could measure up to Uncle, though he knew what would happen if he didn't. To make matters worse, Wilbur could see Fern in the distance on the Ferris wheel with a boy. We remember the first murder warned her to play with kids her own age, and maybe she was right. Fern didn't need to be hanging around with animals all the time. She stayed by his side as long as he needed her. But now, Wilbur had other friends he could lean on, so he would always be grateful to her. Fern had saved his life when it had hardly begun. Thankfully, though, she still had Charlotte by his side. Templeton had searched all day for a new word. Wilbur asked, "Is it a good one?" Charlotte murmured, "It's rather good, it's perfect." Charlotte soothed him with a lullaby. Soon Wilbur was sound asleep. His life was in her hands. In the morning, a splendid new web was stretched above him. This one said humble. Wilbur wasn't sure if he liked it. Is it the right word? He asked Charlotte. Is it true? Because I don't really feel I deserve any of the things you've written about me. Charlotte assured him. Then it is the perfect word, she said. After he thanked her, Wilbur noticed Charlotte was sitting on something round and white. It looked like it was made of spun sugar. This was Charlotte's other project, and she proudly called her magnum opus her great work. The sack was full of her eggs, and in the spring, she told him, 514 bachelors were hatched. Wilbur couldn't wait to meet them. But first, he had to face some bad news. As soon as fair opened for the day, a blue ribbon appeared on Uncle's pen. The judging had happened, where everyone had seen the web, and so for the first time, Charlotte's words had failed to work their magic. Where would be never fight after all? He'd go home to Zuckerman's farm, but not for much longer. It was almost more than anyone else could bear. Fern started to cry. We give it our best shot, huh? Said Mrs. Zuckerman. Find back chairs. Go get the truck, he told Liberty. Let's bring him home. But just as the Zuckermans and the Airwolves were ready to leave, the fairgoers spotted the miraculous web. As soon the fair officials realized that they had more than one prize pig on their hands this year. Later that day, the fair officials awarded Mrs. Zuckerman and Wilbur a special prize. A check for $100, said the announcer, and this handsome medal a token of our amazement and our appreciation. The medal was heavy around Wilbur, where was neck, and nothing could weigh him down. Now he would return to the barn and see many more springs and summers, falls and winters, all thanks to Charlotte. There's a picture right there. And there's one right there. Wilbur had everything he had ever wanted: good friends, a happy home, and a long life stretching out before him. Want to be back home again? Wilbur asked Charlotte, rejoicing. He couldn't wait to tell the other animals what had happened. After all, it was their victory too. But suddenly Charlotte's voice was small and weak. I won't be going back to the barn, Wilbur, she said. I'm languishing. His son had loved the big words. Wilbur didn't understand her at first, but Charlotte was dying. She couldn't even climb back into the crate. You can't die, Wilbur cried. Not now, not here. After all she had done for him, he would stop at nothing for her. But there was nothing to be done. I can die, and I will. And Sister Charlotte, she had taught Wilbur so much about the world, but this was her most difficult lesson of all. The natural cycle of life. She would go, but were left to carry her memory, and all she had taught him in his heart. Yeah, I just can't imagine living without you, Wilbur started. Is there anything I could do for you? The, the spider smiled. So, oh, Wilbur, she whispered. Do you know you already have made me your friend? And in doing so, you made the spider beautiful to everyone in that barn. My webs were no miracle. I was only describing what I saw. The miracle is you. Soon the Zuckerman's truck was rumbling, and it was time for Wilbur to leave. Somehow he had convinced Tipton to detach Charlotte's egg sack, so I dropped it to him. And Wilbur carried it back to his crate as carefully as he could. Then Larry lifted the crate into the trunk and they pulled away from the barn. Charlotte said goodbye, Master Wilbur, and Wilbur watched her crying until the truck turned the corner, and the fairgrounds were out of sight. He couldn't speak with the exit in his mouth, but he let out the saddest squeal of his life, knowing he wanted to see Charlotte again. Wilbur's life would feel empty without his friend. He owed her everything he had. Wilbur returned to the farm, with a shiny medal around his neck. The animals were ready to soak. But they could tell at once that something was wrong. Murray gained at the tattered remains of Charlotte's last web, and dropped his head in sorrow. When the animals followed his eyes, they understood what had happened. Together with Wilbur bowed their heads in sorrow. That Christmas, the spring pig saw his first snowfall. He even caught a snowflake on his tongue. It was another miracle of Charlotte's making. Wilbur was full of joy, but also full of purpose. He was preparing to care for Charlotte's 514 children, just as she had cared for him, and that finally, as true for his family, so would all the animals in that barn. Wilbur and the other animals took turns singing with Charlotte's egg sack, and then one day in spring, it burst wide open. Wilbur was delighted with the pair of stars until they lined up on the fence and began to fly away. Goodbye, goodbye, they called out one by one. Wilbur was very sad. It was part of the natural way of spiders, as Charlotte might have said, but he was barely disappointed. He had wanted to tell the babies all about their extraordinary mother. He had wanted to pass on Charlotte's love to them. He felt like he was meeting his best friend all over again. Wilbur looks good in that picture as well.